Welcome back to the program. So instead of getting into all the wildfire stuff and all that, which you can get most places, right now the left is trying to say that non-existent climate change is the reason why their houses have burned down. Now we know that that's not the case. We know that it has to do with DEI, it has to do with incompetency, it has to do with stupidity, it has to do with lack of experience. I mean, there's so many different things, okay? But now the left is trying to say that this was all because of non-existent climate change. So here's my response. To the climate change Nazis out there who are trying to blame incompetence, a lack of common sense, a radical ideology on non-existent climate change, or is it called global warming this week? Who knows? On the reasons behind the California wildfires, I will remind you of a few things. Number one, the amount of carbon monoxide that has been spewed into the atmosphere from these 100% preventable fires is about the equivalent of the last 5 years worth of extra pollution. So whatever the left has done in California for the last 5 years to try to, quote, save the planet has already been undone and has been exacerbated in the worst way possible because of all the carbon monoxide from the fires killing the plants, killing the animals, killing the fish, killing the water, you name it, right? So that has all been erased. All their gains are somewhat, I guess, imaginary gains have already been gone. Number two, if Gruesome Newsom or Karen Basshole or any of these other idiots in California, and of course these environmentalist patients, I like to call them, if they're trying to, quote, save the smelts or save the whales or save the fishes or save the animals or save the planet or save the trees or the shrubs or whatever it may be, right? Well, you have completely failed because these wildfires that are burning are, guess what? Killing the animals, killing the fish, killing the trees, killing the bees, killing, the water supply, poisoning everything. Think of how much plastic and asbestos and gosh knows what else is in these homes that have been burning up. People's eyes are, bright red. They're coughing, they're sneezing, they're having inhalation issues and breathing issues and all kinds of horrific things that we're hearing about. And so everything that you tried to, quote, save, you have not saved. You've actually made worse because of your own stupidity, okay? Number three, these homes, especially the ones in Malibu, in front of, I don't know, drum roll please, the ocean? Why no one was able to take pumps and drag the pumps out with hoses, put them in the water across the street from your house into the ocean, and then run hoses and, I don't know, maybe spray that water on the home before it burns down? I don't understand it. Doesn't make any sense. So nobody had that bright idea. And then the other thing is this. Look, I'm really trying here, folks. I am really trying to feel some type of sympathy for these people. But it's really difficult to do so. Because I know that these people that hang out in their ivory Palisade, Pacific Palisade Park, ivory towers before they burnt down to the ground, were looking down on the rest of us. And especially the people in Western North Carolina. You see, the difference is these folks in Pasadena, in Pacific Palisades, in Malibu, in Brentwood, in Hollywood, all these different places where there's a lot of money, guess what? They can go to the Beverly Hills Hilton and get their Pilates and get their Ozempic sent to their rooms. And they can sit at the cocktail lounge and get drunk as a skunk and forget about their problems because this is their third, fourth, fifth, or sixth house. What about the people in Western North Carolina where their house floated away? Just gone. Guess what? They're outside in the cold in winter in tents with their children and their pets while these people are yakking it up at these expensive hotels. So it's really difficult for me to really kind of get the heartstrings going and the tears are rolling and the feelings are going for these people when I know for a fact how they thought about and treated the people in North Carolina. Were these Hollywood idiots saying, well, whatever you donate, I'll match to the people in Western North Carolina? No. Were they talking about doing fundraisers? No. They didn't care about those people. Why? Because they thumbed their noses at them. Because they were beneath them. Those are those flyover country people that vote for President Trump. So I'm sorry, but I can't, with good conscience, sit here and start feeling sorry for these people. I've tried, and every time I think about North Carolina, I just get more and more pissed off because they're the forgotten people. Those are the ones that don't matter. Those are the ones that don't count. Well, you know what? They count to me. They count to you. They count to President Trump. They count. They are the majority of this country. Not the, crispy grain eating Pilates morons with their Ozempic. That's not real America. Okay? That's not real America. What's real America is what happened in North Carolina. And it was an absolute travesty for them to be completely ignored. Oh, they have a Trump sign in their yard? Skip that house. Sorry, I just can't get there. So, California, as I said, spent $30 billion. I don't want to repeat yesterday's show. $30 billion on illegal immigration. $30 billion. Unbelievable. So, perhaps, if they didn't have to spend $30 billion on illegal immigration, perhaps if the border was closed, perhaps if they weren't stupid enough to hire these affirmative action DEI candidates, well, maybe then Los Angeles would not be known as it was, which was Tinseltown, and instead is now going to be known as a tinderbox. I'm just saying. Now, let's move on to good news, okay? Here's some good news. First thing I want to talk about, which I think is amazing news, is what President Trump has come out with for censorship. This is important to me, folks, obviously, okay? As I've said before, the FCC chairman has come out hot. President Trump has said that he's going to bust down the entire censorship thing in this country. He's going to try to repeal Section 230, which is awesome. So this was a video, believe it or not, from a couple of years ago before he won the election. And here's the kicker. It was banned and censored on YouTube. But obviously now it's not, and it can't be because there's a new regime in town and the social media folks are starting to realize that, hey, things are going to be changing here. And so they're getting in line. But I wanted to play you what he says because it is very powerful. And if everything he says is 100% accurate, true, and comes true into fruition, this is going to be a great country with freedom of speech. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, they'll be forced to give me back all of my social media accounts. And guess what? I won't have to try to rebuild them. They're already built. Just turn the switch back on and Bernstein's back. Okay? That's what I'm hoping for. So, I want you to listen to the great President Trump. Turn the volume up here.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified. These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law, and antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses. To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans to immediately send preservation letters, and we have to do this right now, to the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship. Third, upon my inauguration as president, I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk revising Section 230.
Yes, that's what I wanted to hear right there.
To get big online platforms out of censorship business. From now on, digital platforms should only qualify for immunity protection under Section 230 if they meet high standards of neutrality, transparency, fairness, and non-discrimination. We should require these platforms to increase their efforts to take down unlawful content such as child exploitation and promoting terrorism, while dramatically curtailing their power to arbitrarily restrict lawful speech. Fourth, we need to break up the entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the false guise of tackling so-called mis- and disinformation. The federal government should immediately stop funding all nonprofits and academic programs that support this authoritarian project. If any U.S. university is discovered to have engaged in censorship activities or election interferences in the past, such as flagging social media content for removal of blacklisting, those universities should lose federal research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more. We should also enact new laws laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution and deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote. And once you lose those elections, and once you lose your borders like we have, you no longer have a country. Furthermore, to confront the problems of major platforms being infiltrated by legions of former deep staters and intelligence officials, there should be a 7-year cooling-off period before any employee of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DNI, DHS, or DOD is allowed to take a job at a company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data.
Okay, so right there he's saying that nobody that was a cabinet position or working for the federal government in those departments, the FBI, the CIA, DHS, NSA, DOD, whatever, NIH, whatever they may be, he's saying that none of them should be able to take a job with a social media company. for 7 years. I personally think it should be never. They should never, ever, ever be allowed to work for a social media company if they worked for the government. If we're going to pull out the roots of the problem, then let's make sure that after 7 years is up, that they can't go back and work for these social media companies. So I love this plan. And honestly, if it passed and it was at least 7 years, I'd be happy. But I'd like to see it be permanent.
Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely and receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose. The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America and for the survival of Western civilization itself. When I am president, this whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large. There won't be anything left. By restoring free speech, we will begin to reclaim our democracy and save our nation. Thank you, and God bless America.
Oh, there you have it. From the horse's mouth, from President Trump's mouth, right there. And that was, again, not in the last couple of months. That was like a year ago that he did that when he was running, for 2024. But it's interesting that at the time it was banned, right? He's talking about freedom of speech and it gets banned on YouTube. That's how bad things have been and continue to be. But I am seeing this glimmer of light shining through. And I think what you're going to end up having happen is what Elon Musk has done on X, where he has community notes. So in other words, nobody is an arbiter of truth. Nobody's taking anything down. Nobody's banning anything, at least we hope. But instead, you get a note that says, maybe missing context, or, this is questionable, and here's some other, avenues to go look at for the same story, and maybe you'll get a different result. Like things like that, right? But what you're not going to see, again, we hope, is that the government, not in this case, because this government wouldn't do it, but any government in the future that says, no, you can't say this, you can't say that. We don't care what you say about lockdowns. We don't care what you say about vaccines or mandates or anything like that. That's the truth. It has to be. And if you say anything different, we're going to take you down. We're going to ban you. We're going to censor you. We're going to fine you. We're going to jail you. I mean, look what's going on in other countries, in the UK, in Germany. People are being arrested for disagreeing with their government. So be thankful, folks. Be thankful that we are still here in the United States of America and we have an opportunity to change course. And so I'm cautiously optimistic about that, okay? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is something I kind of alluded to, but I didn't really get into the other day. Maricopa County, okay, in Arizona in particular, we know that this has been ground zero for voter fraud, right? I mean, obviously they talk about Chicago, Crook County, right? There hasn't been an honest election in 120 years or whatever it's been in Chicago, right? Like literally never. But lately, and especially since Kari Lake has come onto the scene, Arizona has been ground zero for stolen elections. They stole the governorship from Kari Lake. Then they stole the Senate race from Kari Lake. Again, I think she ends up winning in the end with Voice of America director. But what has happened since they stole the election. Some pretty positive things, actually. The Board of Supervisors no longer has the old RINOs, the old McCain-loving establishment anti-Trumpers on the Board of Supervisors. As a matter of fact, former Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, which seems like a little bit of a drop. Like, why would you go from the U.S. Congress to a county supervisor? I mean, yeah, it's a huge county. It's the 5th largest county, I guess, in the United States. But it seems like Congress seems like still a higher position, but whatever. So anyway, Debbie Lesko has already called for election integrity. She's called for investigations into the last couple of elections. But here's the even better part. We are now 4 out of 5 on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors that are Republicans. Okay? And couple that with Stephen Richer, the former Maricopa County recorder, that scumbag is out. And Justin Heap, who seems to be America First and Trump, is now the county recorder. So you have all these new people on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. There's one Democrat, Steve Gallardo, but that's it. You've got Thomas Galvin, Kate Brophy-McGee, Mark Stewart, Debbie Lesko, and Steve Gallardo. That is the new Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. So I can't imagine them being any worse than they were. And I asked Wendy Rogers about it. I texted her and I said, hey, what are your thoughts on the new makeup of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors? What are your thoughts? And she said that she's cautiously optimistic. And I think that that's a good approach. I think we should be cautiously optimistic. Only time will tell. But I can tell you this. It's got to be a hell of a lot better than it ever was with Richer, Bill Gates, Clint Hickman, I mean, so many others, Jack Sellers. I mean, these people were stone-cold anti-Trump scumbags. And I'm just thankful that we're moving in a different direction. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.